Oh, yeah.
But if you can get it free, by all means. All right, welcome everyone to the September 28th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting for the City of Travelers Rest. I would like to call this meeting to order. I will now call the roll. Members of the commission, starting on my right, please state your name.
Evan Cantrell.
Michelle Garrison.
Diane Maxwell.
Don Watson.
We will begin with the review and approval of minutes from our last scheduled meeting on August 24th, 2023. Do I hear a motion to approve these minutes as presented?
Motion.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing no more discussion, I would like to call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand and saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is carried. Item number 2A, new business, 5-year comprehensive plan review, land use and resiliency elements. The comprehensive plan for the City of Travelers Rest was last completed in 2018. As per state law, the Planning Commission is tasked with reviewing this document at least every 5 years and updating it at least every 10 years. The Planning Commission has been reviewing the 2018 document these last few months. Staff will provide us with details of the next 2 chapters to be reviewed, land use and resiliency.
Thank you, Commissioner Garrison. So as you mentioned, the last few months have been reviewing our 2018 comp plan. It's broken down into what was 9 chapters, is now 10 chapters as required by state law. We've reviewed the first, 7. Last 3 are going to be this month and next month, and these last 3 are kind of two of the three big ones that incorporate the entire document, that being land use. And the next month we'll get into the priority investment element. But for this month, we're looking at land use and resiliency chapters. And moving in like we've done with the other chapters, what we looked at was the recommendations made during the 2018 comp plan process for each of the chapters. The ones for land use are up on the screen. And then we looked at those recommendations and then made a determination whether or not any progress or some progress or no progress has been made for each of those recommendations. So as you can see, we've made progress on every one of the recommendations made for the land use. And we've completed a couple of them, the biggest thing being the new downtown overlay district really hit home a lot of the recommendations and goals that City Council put forth in 2018 as part of the plan. So we're excited to say that a good portion of the city falls under that downtown overlay district, which will help with which definitely help with updating our minimum standards for development, and really looking at land use form and character of development as well. So moving into the actual, the sort of the mapping and some of the things that we've done and looked at, or that we're reviewing. These are the lists of zoning map amendments, so rezonings that have occurred since 2018 or since the comp plan was adopted. And the map, I think, is relatively easy to see from this scale, but if not, I can certainly zoom in. But as you can see, rezonings have occurred kind of all over the city. They're not focused on one particular place or area of the city. The table on the left shows you all the different zoning map amendments, as well as the zoning text amendments. The map doesn't show that; those are obviously text amendments. And then annexations, we've had 4 since 2018. That would be the station right down the street from us, down here on Old Buncombe and Edwards. Hawkins Road, we've had 2 different townhome communities being built, either currently being built or have just been built, excuse me, on Hawkins Road, east of 25. And then Old Buncombe as well, that we had a second annexation for the station, made the project a little bit larger. So for the most part, the annexations occurred to the east and then to the south of the city. and then one in here. This is, I apologize, this is an old, a little bit old, but we do have one more right here, which is White Hawk Meadows, that large green property where my mouse is showing. That's not currently shown on your map here, but that is another additional annexation. That's White Hawk Meadows is in the grading process right now for single-family development. And moving forward, this map you've seen before, but I thought it was important to show it again. These are major subdivisions and then final development plans that have occurred since 2018 in the city. As I mentioned, the White Hawk Meadows is here on the left. You have Pinestone, which is obviously a major development occurring in the center of downtown, really reshaping what the center of downtown is for TR. And then, as I mentioned, the two townhome communities off to the east, Gateway Village and Hawkins Park. Spring Park, which was originally approved back in 2008, but is currently being graded. It was approved as a planned development back in 2008. You have Wethington Place, which is down the street here, is a townhome community as well. And I think that's this one here in the middle is Parkside Village. That is the abandoned townhome approval, subdivision approval from a couple years ago. That project is no longer moving forward in that form. It's not moving forward at all as far as I'm aware at this point. So those just show you kind of the subdivisions. And then we had a Little Creek Road here, which is went from one lot to two, but I included that as well just to show you the subdivisions. And then the last two are along North Main Street, the Refuge, which is a subdivision that you guys, a rezoning and then a subdivision, which you all recently approved, and then Trailview Townhomes across the street, which was approved, I believe, back in 2019. And those townhomes, I think, turned out nicely. So this is our existing land use map. Take this with a grain of salt. This is taken sort of a snapshot of what the actual use of each of the existing properties are in the city as of, I think it was early August 2023. This map will not be included in the review. I just put it in here for your own edification because it gets outdated pretty quickly as properties either develop or redevelop. But I wanted to just show you all this map just to show you that we're thinking about things sort of in a snapshot of existing uses in the city as well. So. More relevant map, what we'll be making it into the 2018 or the 2023 document is the one you see before you. This is the future land use map for the city, and really not a lot has changed greatly from the future land use map that was approved back in 2018. Some of the changes you will notice are that we've obviously annexed, the annexed properties have changed because they weren't shown in the original map back in 2018, that being White Hawk, and then some of the Hawkins townhomes, and then down here at Old Buncombe, as I mentioned earlier. But for the most part, this map stays relatively the same, not a whole lot of changes. But this does give you an idea. Future land use map really should be looked at as sort of broad brushstrokes of how an area could potentially look over the next 20 years. We take into account different things, like how it's currently zoned, if there's development nearby, if it has easy access to sewer and water, those sort of things. So we kind of look out 20 years to kind of give us an idea of what the property could look like over time, regardless of how it looks right now.
Mike,
Yes, ma'am.
is there a percentage that is kind of a model of what a land use could look like for any?
No, every city is different. The best thing to do, and what I can do maybe at our next meeting, is compare and contrast the current future land use map versus this one, and show you the percentage changes of those. I think that's probably the more relevant discussion. But I can if you're interested in that, I can definitely put that together. Okay. Sure. But this gives you an idea, and then Furman as well. You'll notice the inset. Not a whole lot has changed on that. We did clean up the map a little bit. There were some outdated either changes that were made to the land uses that necessitated the change to the future land use map after the fact. Or they annexed a little bit of property, so not a whole lot of changes on that side of things. Okay, moving on to the resiliency element. So this is a new requirement of the state as of 2020. So this requirement came in after we did our 2018 plan, but we're going to go ahead and add this to the plan as part of the 2023 review. So the resiliency element really considers a couple of different things, but mostly it's to look at flooding, high water, and natural hazards on the community, and how that affects public health, safety, and welfare. And I'll show you on a map here coming up, flooding is not really a serious risk in Travelers Rest based on the flood FEMA maps that have been created for us. Flood preparedness is still a good part of the community resiliency element. So we feel it's important to show you guys, to show the community where those flood zones are. And the city does have requirements in place, flood control standards in place since 1997. So you can build in a flood zone, but you're going to be subject to much more stringent standards and higher insurance as well. So people typically don't build in floodplains. And we discourage the practice as much as we can, but we do have ordinances in place if they decide to do so. So this map, and I struggled for a while trying to get the colors right, just to let you see kind of how it looks in place, and then also have the background aerial so you have an idea of where the tree coverage is. But it's not a perfect map, so I apologize if the colors don't quite look great. But if you notice the sort of the darker blue areas, sort of if you follow the river, almost like a river basically, those are the areas with 1% annual chance flood, and these come straight from FEMA, so these are FEMA maps. And then areas with 0.2 annual chances, which is a little bit, those are, so going back, the dark blue is a 100-year flood possibility. The yellow is a 500-year flood, so it's a little less chance that that's going to happen. So there's a little bit of areas you can see. Most of the areas that are in yellow are also in dark blue, so they're covered by the dark blue, but you can see some of the yellow areas that are peeking out a little bit behind the Athens community. We have a little bit actually down just south of the city, outside the city limits. And then I think that might be it. There's a little bit on the YMCA campus, on the southern side of that campus. But for the most part, you're not going to have a lot of the 500-year floods and very little of the 100-year floods. And then the light blue, which is even harder to see because there's even less of that, those are basically your river. Those are going to be covered by the dark blue for the most part anyways. Those are your riverine areas. You can see down here at Furman, there's some down here. That's the lake. So areas that are already underwater essentially are covered by the Zone A, which is the light blue. Okay, and that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Looks good, looks good.
On the, out of curiosity, next to the Spring Park, where the triangle that's not,
Right here.
yeah,
So that is a donut hole. That's still in the county. So the areas around it were annexed at different times by different people, and that area just was never brought into the city at the time it was annexed. So, and yeah, at this point, it would, it could redevelop, I suppose. There's some houses back there, single-family housing, but
that's through the subdivision.
it's actually,
Spring Park,
Spring Park is the blue and yellow, or is the yellow piece right here. And then you have the community here. And then this is where they're building, this little square area is where they're building the new subdivision, the Spring Park subdivision. And then, this is all just single family. The house on the home is right here, or the house on the hill, I should say, is right up front here.
Are those rentals behind there? Is that,
I believe they are.
I think
Yes,
so
ma'am.
also, yes.
Yeah. I
So it
believe
would
they
be
are.
incumbent upon them to,
It would, yes. We can't require them to do so just based on state law. They would have to come to us with, or at least a percentage of them would have to file a request to do so, a petition to do so.
So they don't have police protection from the city, from the county, and trash pickup and those kind of things? Or is it just kind of,
As far as I
it's
know, they
rolled
don't,
in
they
because
don't
it's
pay
a
city
small,
taxes.
yeah.
But, you know, because it's kind of surrounded by the city, I would assume that first responders are going to be.
Cover it, yeah.
That's my assumption. I don't know that for certain.
Right. And I'm sure the tax base is minimal for those properties there.
on to item 2B, new business, 5-year comprehensive plan review, survey update.
Yes, thank you. So just wanted to give you guys a quick update as I've been doing every month. So we're up to 434 as of today, survey responses. So that's a great number. I'd like to get that above 500 if we can before the survey closes. This will definitely be the last few weeks of the survey because I'm going to take the information that I get from that survey and include it in next month's Planning Commission report. I'll have Beth get the word out that get your surveys in before the opportunity closes. But we are already more than double of the amount of surveys received that we were in 2018. So real good response.
Like a 1% or a 0.5% of residents and merchants?
You can take the survey if you're a resident or not. So,
Yes,
and we
right,
have a
right,
question, are you a resident? So I haven't looked that far as to see how many residents have checked it, but that's a good question. I think it's probably more than 1% of total, because 1% would be 77 people. So my guess is more than that have taken the survey that are residents.
Questions? No? All right, well, moving on to item 3, other business.
Yes, thank you. I do have one item that, just for your information, this was included in your packet. Planning Commission will be reviewing next month the permitted use table. We had a question come to us, or come to my office over the last few weeks in regards to tattoo parlors. This was a use that was specifically excluded at the last year's, when we revised the zoning ordinance. City Council specifically excluded tattoo parlors from allowable uses or permitted uses in the city. That's been challenged. Based upon the information we have, it's a First Amendment request or right that we are not allowing the tattoo shops to be allowed in any of the zoning districts we have in place. So we're going to address that next month by revising the permitted use table to potentially allow for tattoo shops via special exception in the S1 services district, which other cities in the area do as well. So I feel like we'd be comfortable allowing it in that circumstance. So that'll be before you guys next month for your consideration to move on to City Council for their approval. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Is there a limit of number of tattoo parlors that would be given that waiver, or is it?
There's no limit, but the state has certain requirements in place that they cannot be within 1,000 feet of a church or a residence. So I think there's natural limits that they would run into regardless of what the city does. So I think, and we had planned on building some of that information into the requirements as well.
Piercing fall under?
It would be, yes, tattoo shops and body piercing, correct.
Questions? No more discussion. I would like to call for a vote to adjourn. All in favor, raise your right hand by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion is adjourned and carried. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Yeah.